This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news, and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Georgia Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Burgamy.
That's right, together again. So glad you're joining us for another edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. I am Ray DeLessio.
And I'm Kenny Burgamy. Straight ahead on the program, what effect, if any, did the mild winter have on this year's pecan crop? We'll head to Baxley, Georgia for their annual field day and hear from experts on the industry and its outlook for 2017.
Also on the program, now in her 30th year of teaching, she has mentored generations of FFA students at Tift County High School. The incredible story of Miss Lynn Cook and the impact she has made on the community.
And then later, with a combination of pre-planning, proper training, and this device, how more and more grain bin rescues are resulting in successful extractions. These stories and so much more starting right now on the Georgia Farm Monitor. With a farm gate value of more than $361 million, Georgia continues to be the country's leader in pecan production. That's why events like the Southeast Georgia Pecan Field Day are so important, as growers receive tips on how to prevent disease as well as increase yield. With more on this, we hear from the newest member of the Farm Monitor staff, reporter John Holcomb.
Here on this family pecan farm in Baxley, Georgia, around 250 growers attended the 2017 Southeast Pecan Field Day. This event, just one of many that are held throughout the growing season, gives growers a chance to learn about how orchards in this area are producing this time of year.
Our pecan crop this year looks pretty good. We were a little bit concerned early on because we had such a warm winter, and that threw bud break off to where it was very erratic.
It was a very difficult growing season, from having the weather really warm up in the spring and the older trees coming out ahead, and then the Arctic blast comes and the older trees just freeze down.
The day started off with the chance for growers to check out the latest and greatest equipment, along with demonstrations to show how the equipment actually works.
We've had companies that truck stuff in here from 4 or 5 hours away.
Growers then were loaded onto school buses for a tour of the farm, which gave growers a chance to see how well the crop is doing in this area.
This is just to get growers together to learn things that's happening during the current season, as well as things that could help them in the future.
The tour had several stops along the way. At each stop, growers got to hear from different experts from the University of Georgia's School of Agriculture, giving them the latest information on planting and managing methods, as well as the correct usage of herbicides.
Today we wanted to demonstrate the different herbicides that could be put out prior to harvest that would effectively control these weeds.
The host of this pecan field day, Bill and Lewis Parker, two brothers that enjoy pecan growing and want to make sure everyone can learn as much as they can about growing and managing pecan farms.
It is good to have this many people to show interest, to come out here to learn more and more and more about pecans.
Georgia, which is one of 14 states that grow pecans, is the United States' biggest supplier and is even exporting internationally to countries such as China, India, Turkey, and South Korea. Demand continues to be high for pecans, which means supply has to also be high to keep up with those demands, which ultimately means hard work.
Pecan growers are very unique. I mean, really they are, and they are hard workers. A lot of people think you can go out there, throw that pecan tree in the ground, wait a few years, and just gather pecans. It's not that way.
A good supply of pecans also comes with good knowledge from experts like the ones from UGA, which is why field days like this one are so important to growers.
This is the main part of what we do as far as the research and education, and having things like this, field days as well as meetings, is one of the best ways that we can get the word out as far as things that can help people on their day-to-day operation. Anytime you can, get together with other growers that's growing the same crop that you are, it certainly helps you to learn, as well as learning from the University of Georgia specialists, things that can help your operation.
Reporting in Baxley for the Georgia Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
All right, John, very nice job. Meantime, U.S. Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue, the guest of honor recently, as Georgia Farm Bureau hosted Sonny Perdue Day at the UGA Tifton Conference Center. This a chance for Secretary Perdue to mingle with Farm Bureau members from around the state and to give his thoughts on various ag issues affecting each producer.
It's thrilling to be here in Tifton in the middle of the great state of Georgia. We got a good meal and great warm fellowship, and saw a lot of friends from Georgia that I missed, but it was a wonderful homecoming. It's surreal. It's a job I never thought that even aspired to, and when President Trump called, as I told people today, it was probably the only cabinet job I would have accepted. I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take my life from beginning on the farm, veterinary training, agribusiness, and culminating in Secretary of Agriculture.
Staying in Tifton, every year members of both the State House and Senate Ag Committees come together to discuss some of the major issues facing the industry with the public.
Damon Jones tells you why this event is important and some of the steps being taken to solve the problems.
State legislators, industry leaders, and ag professionals all recently gathered in Tifton for the annual Ag Issues Summit. It's an event where policymakers discuss some of the major issues farmers are facing and what they are doing to alleviate them.
We tried to bring together all the diverse agriculture groups from around the state just for a little update, just so we can share where we are, new initiatives going on in agriculture.
While typical issues like gate compliance and the ongoing water battle were on the agenda, there was also the introduction of a new initiative to help rural development. And with these areas of the state facing unique challenges, a new council was formed to focus on these problems.
Rural Development Council was established by some legislation that I introduced last session on behalf of our Speaker, David Ralston, to form a committee to travel our state and look at the issues of rural Georgia. Those issues being economic development, transportation, health care, infrastructure, broadband. We know we've got problems in rural Georgia. We need to find solutions.
And one of the points of emphasis is getting high-speed internet to all parts of the state. Without this technology, many of these operations will be at an extreme disadvantage.
I mean, in today's world, communication is vitally important. Whether you be a cotton farmer or a produce farmer, or if your son's coming back home on the farm and you need to diversify your operation. Well, if you don't have economic development, if you don't have that processor in an area nearby, that's not something you can add to your operation.
Another major issue facing rural America is the quality of their health care. It's a concern these legislators are fully aware of.
Whether it's business practices, technology, workforce development, physician recruiting, I mean, there are a lot of moving pieces and parts to a successful healthcare system in rural Georgia that's different than a successful system in an urban area.
Being a physician himself, Burke knows the importance of having a high-quality healthcare system in local communities.
Well, right now, about 15 of our rural hospitals, and there's about 60, about 15 of them are in danger of closing right now. And if we lose those 15 hospitals, then every one of the communities around them are going to dry up and go away. If you get hurt on the farm or hurt in an accident, we need sites that can take care of you that aren't an hour or 2 hours away.
While these issues won't be fixed overnight, farmers can rest assured that they are not being overlooked in Atlanta.
They're taken very seriously. They're taken very seriously, and we've been very blessed. All members of the legislature have been very receptive, and that's one of the reasons we've been able to keep Georgia agriculture moving forward.
Reporting from Tifton, I'm Damon Jones for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Thank you, Damon. When we come back, for 30 years, she's been a staple in the Tift County Ag Education Department. The heartwarming story of Miss Lynn Cook when the Georgia Farm Monitor continues.
Farming is a very risky business. We deal with weather outside of our control. We deal with markets outside of our control. Right now we're dealing with net income that is 50% below what it was 3 years ago. And so something that legislators can do for us as farmers and ranchers right now is pass a comprehensive tax reform. That looks like the continuance of cash accounting, allowing for immediate expensing of capital assets, as well as continuing the business interest expense deduction. If Congress got rid of cash accounting, that would be detrimental to farmers and ranchers across the country. And that's because we're price takers. We often find ourselves holding a crop over from year to year until we can find a good market for that. And that would mean if we got rid of cash accounting, that we would be taking out a loan most likely to pay for income that we haven't even received yet. Comprehensive tax reform from Congress needs to include the business interest expense deduction. This is very important to young farmers and ranchers across the country. We're often in the beginning stages of a loan where the majority of our payment is for interest expense. For a young farmer or rancher to get started, they have to first purchase the land to do so. That's going to be the biggest expense, which means a lot of interest starting out. If Congress gets rid of the business interest deduction, that's just going to put up another barrier for the next generation to get into farming. Immediate expensing is a tax tool that allows farmers and ranchers to reinvest in their farms. To grow and be successful on the farm, it often means putting in heavy capital with equipment and livestock to do so. Immediate expensing is very important to us, and if they change that rule, it's going to hurt our rural communities as well as hurt the farmers and ranchers.
When we talk about estate taxes, I would like to see it repealed completely, because on our farm I spend a lot of time and money just making sure that we have our estate plan in the right place, the way we need it to pass our farm down to our children so that they can farm it and not lose it due to the taxes. And the reason I'm spending more time and money is because there are changes so constantly on the estate taxes. If we would have it completely repealed and I knew that I could count on that, then I would be able to better plan every year, and we would be able to pass on the farm to our children so they can farm it and not lose it due to taxes.
Estate taxes have a huge effect on our agriculture community. My farm has been in our family for over 100 years. Estate taxes limits the options my family has to pass it to the next generation. When my father passed in 1997, a trust was formed. Some of my Century Farm is in that trust. Because of capital gains, the future is uncertain as to whether or not our family will continue for many more generations owning that same piece of property.
They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but let me tell you folks, words alone cannot describe the love and admiration people, including myself, have for Tift County Ag Education teacher Lynn Cook. Now in her 30th year at the school, the lives she has touched and the difference Lynn has made is endless. In fact, since posting this picture on the Monitor's Facebook page, it's been shared nearly 80 times and received over 30 comments. Why so much love for Lynn? Here's why.
Finally got involved in the FFA as I came into the 9th and 10th grade and started showing livestock, especially cattle, but also sheep, and enjoyed it throughout my high school career and was convinced that I was going to be a veterinarian. I knew from the time that I was 2 years old that I wanted to be a vet, and the Lord just started working with me over that time when I went to college, and just everything that I was doing was preparing me for what He really called me for, which was this.
She's really supportive. I know that I can call or text her any time of the day, and she's there to support me, give me great advice. As an advisor, she's always, there for our FFA chapter, for our officer team in general. Her and my mom actually grew up together. They went through school together, and so her and my mom were friends even before I was born. And so she's been with me ever since I was really little to now, and I think that's wonderful that we built that relationship when I was younger, and it's just grown through the years.
I'm old enough now, and I hate to say that, but I'm old enough now that I'm now teaching my grand FFA members. In other words, my students that met in my class, fell in love, got married, had children, and now my grand FFA members are starting to filter back through my program. And I'm seeing their parents, my first round of FFA members, take leadership within the community. And I know what high quality people they are. I know that they've got the training and the background and the gumption and the tenacity to make a real difference in the world. I was one of the kids that back in high school hated high school, and I swore that I was not ever going to step back foot in a high school, and that when I got a job, it would not have homework. That when I got through, I would go home. And God made, He has a great sense of humor. So where did I end up? Back in high school. And I don't want them to have the same experience that I had. I want them to take high school and just make the most of it. Because a lot of times, just like I did, even though I was super active there toward the end, I wasted so much of my time that I could have had a resume like they're ending up with when they get out of high school that can combat almost with a senior coming out of college. And so that's the kind of ag teacher that I want to be. That's the kind of influence I want to be on them. Each one of us that are ag teachers here within this county have our own expertise. And so what's nice is we all kind of blend together to make a good ag department. And so a student can come through and they can specialize in whatever it is that they like to do. And so I love that part of agriculture, but I also was born to be a teacher. When you hit the big 3-0 in teaching, everybody wants to know how long you're going to stay. I have no plans. I will tell you that right now, if my health and my father's health is good, then I still enjoy it too much. And everybody that has gone on before me to the green grasses of retirement tells me that when it's time, you'll know. And I guess I can't deny the Lord. He's brought me here, and He has to thump me in the head a couple of times to keep me on the straight and narrow, and this is what you need to do. He'll tell me when it's time. And, if it's now, if it's 5 years from now, if it's 10 years from now, I'm in. I enjoy it too much to leave now, or would like to not leave now. And so I'm in for the long haul.
Yes, indeed, that is one special lady, isn't she? And it goes without saying, thanks to everyone at Tift County High School for their hospitality that day. Lynn Cook, certainly an inspiration to all of us, including myself. Well, from one hero to another, when we come back, the dreaded grain entrapment. You hope and pray it never happens, but if it does, you can rest assured there's a procedure and a device that will increase your chances of a safe and successful rescue. That story when the Georgia Farm Monitor continues.
80 years ago, a group of farmers from Bartow, Cherokee, Cobb, Gordon, Floyd, Polk, and Paulding counties met at the Bartow County Courthouse. At the request of Robert M. Stiles, the farmers came to hear his ideas about a farmer-led organization to support Georgia agriculture. That meeting resulted in the formation of the United Georgia Farmers. In July 1937, 50 dirt farmers representing 25 counties attended the first assembly of delegates, and they elected Mr. Stiles as president. United Georgia Farmers affiliated themselves with the American Farm Bureau in 1939, and 2 years later, they changed the name to the Georgia Farm Bureau Federation. Because of Mr. Stiles' foresight, today the organization carries out the mission of being an advocate for farmers in the legislative arena and delivering leadership that provides for a better way of life throughout the agricultural community.
I can assure you that if anybody has satisfaction and consolation, I have. And I'm truly grateful for the wonderful support that farmers have done in this state.
Bob Stiles of Bartow County was a visionary pioneer for Georgia Farm Bureau, and those first 50 farmers provided a model that we continue to celebrate today. Remembering our past and looking forward to a great future as a strong and solid grassroots organization, we are the Georgia Farm Bureau.
Finally today, in its annual survey of grain handling accidents, Purdue University says although entrapment numbers were slightly up in 2016, the 5-year average was down from 30.2 in 2015 to 29.4 in 2016. A lot of words there.
Yeah, fortunately though, with technologies like the one you're about to see, courtesy of our friends at Alabama A&M and Auburn Extension, should a person become entrapped, their chances of survival are much greater than, say, 20 or 30 years ago.
Our victim is being immersed in a 7-foot diameter bin using an 8-inch auger that is not fully open. In a large grain facility that uses a 60-inch auger, he would be immersed much faster. The average person becomes engulfed between mid-thigh and their belly button when they can no longer do the jumping motion. The victim can breathe, but is stuck. Check to see if the victim is wearing a harness. Securing a lifeline to the victim will prevent them from being submerged into the bin. The rescuer is going to use the GSI rescue tube to get the victim out of the grain. Prior to placing the panels around the victim, the rescuer informs them that the pressure will initially increase, but then decrease again when the grain is being removed. He places the first panel directly behind the victim. This panel is referred to as the foundation. It is driven down as far as possible at a 90-degree angle. He does not use any of the latches on the cofferdam. Instead, he puts his knee into the bottom of the panel to keep the seal tight. He then puts the second panel a few inches into the grain. He keeps an eye on the 90-degree angle using his knee in the bottom of the panel to keep a good seal. He places the third and fourth panel a few inches into the grain to hold them in place. He inspects the seal to see if it is tight. If the seal is tight, he starts driving the panels down the rest of the way. If there is a leak in the tube, it can be stopped by plugging the leak with an item such as a glove or shirt, or by lifting the panels and resealing them. Once the panels are all driven down, he warns the victim that the pressure in the tube is going to increase each time the panels are driven down further. As the grain is removed, the pressure will go away. They use the shop vacuum to get the grain out, only focusing on the grain that is directly in front of the victim. That way, he can make room to start stepping and climbing out of the tube. He is able to use a shop vacuum because there is no combustible dust in the air. The combustible dust standard is a 5-foot visual inspection. If your vision is obscured at 5 feet or less, then there is enough dust in the air to support combustion. If you do not have a shop vacuum or rescue auger, or can't use a shop vacuum because there is too much dust in the air, many different tools can be used to remove grain, such as hard hats or coffee cups. It is important to remove the grain from the victim and not the victim from the grain. Forcing the victim out of the grain could result in injury. If the victim was unconscious, the rescuer would have to continue removing the grain from the inside of the tube and driving the panels down further until he can see the top of the victim's feet. He pulls one panel back, slowly lifting it up so that the grain can flow back in while he stands on the side rails. He wants to be cautious to let the grain flow back in slowly so he does not re-engulf the victim and the force of the grain flowing underneath the panel does not pull him into it. This is how you safely get somebody out of a grain bin using a GSI rescue tube.
Pretty neat stuff. That's going to do it for this week's edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Now here's a reminder for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm. Be sure you check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming and with us here at the show.
Take care, everybody. We will see you next week right here on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Have a great week.